the Committee to Protect Journalists, or
Yeah, CPJ.
is that what it is?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Have said, that they, and we know I've supported their work and hailed their work around the world, but now they're not looking just at places like Pakistan or Egypt, right, or Russia, right? They're looking at the United States, where clear cases of people going out and urging violence, against members of the media.
Yeah, and I'll
starting with the occupant of the White House.
I was in Phoenix last week for the president's rally.
Whoa.
And it was dangerous, and it was dangerous to be a reporter. There were people on both sides of the protest open carrying. You saw left and right-wing militia groups carrying assault rifles. And then particularly among the Trump supporters, I saw one guy who was,
he pointed you out, right?
Well, I wasn't inside. I was just outside the rally.
Ooh.
But just talking to those people, I'll give you a good example. I was photographing a protester that had a sign that said, "No racism," right? And some people started screaming at me, crooked media, and they were essentially mad that I was photographing a protester. I thought it was interesting that they just sort of assumed that someone with a sign that said no racism was against them. But, I walked over and I said to them, "What's wrong?" Because they were just screaming at me. And I ended up quoting them for my article, because their whole point was like, you're quoting the protesters, you're not quoting us, which literally I was on the side with the Trump supporters to speak to them. But, when you see protests and rallies becoming increasingly violent, guns becoming an increasing open presence at stuff, and this would, date back to the RNC, and then you see the media as a target, and what you're describing too, where we're sitting in the pen at rallies and he's pointing us out and people are screaming. It's not good, and I hope nothing happens.